Good morning, guys. Welcome back to another edition of the Kacee Allen Show. A lot of times we talk about finance and crime. Today we're going to be talking about both of those today. In a recent case, which involves the crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried, if most of you have heard and been on social media in the past 6 months to a year and been involved in crypto or any sort of decentralized finance.
I think this will probably go down in history as one of, if not the largest financial crimes ever.
I cannot imagine a scenario where $8 billion just disappears.
They use QuickBooks, a multi-billion-dollar company using QuickBooks.
Sam Bankman-Fried has been arrested in the Bahamas.
Bankman-Fried has pled not guilty to multiple fraud charges.
Very few people want to go on the record saying anything bad about Sam or about FTX. Sam was just too important in the crypto community.
He was negotiating directly with politicians, with world leaders.
When someone says, I'm going to give $1 billion in the next 2 years, like that catches everybody's attention.
His story is very astonishing and very comparable to Jordan Belfort and Bernie Madoff in the financial crime sector. This dude was a 28-year-old video game playing nerd and somehow accumulated the wealth of billions of dollars in the crypto space, including making profits off of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and just a lot of sketchy things you don't really know about. This dude was extremely irresponsible. He started the crypto exchange FTX, took in billions of dollars of customers' funds, and ended up losing it along the way and actually gambled the money away, his own customers' funds. So if you held any crypto on the FTX exchange, whether it was Bitcoin, Tether, or any sort of altcoin, your account was frozen, or you might even not gotten your funds back. Like currently, I think Dave Portnoy lost his Bitcoin because he held it on FTX, which I've told everyone in crypto, do not hold your crypto on exchanges. Get it off exchanges, get it on a self-custody flash drive, whether it's Bitcoin, whatever your altcoin is. Do not hold it on an exchange. You're just asking for something like that to happen. You're asking for, the exchange to collapse, or in this case, Sam Bankman-Fried doing illegal things, taking people's money, and now, as we're about to get into his current case, he's facing 110 years in prison for taking the $10 billion, like I said, literally gambling it irresponsibly. And it's quite remarkable. Like I said, it's very comparable to Jordan Belfort and Bernie Madoff and some of the largest financial crimes in U.S. history, and his is very much up there with those. So it's something I think they're going to make a Netflix documentary about, I would say within a year. Again, this dude, he's very corrupt in ways because not only was he involved in the financial sector, he tried to corrupt politics. He even offered Donald Trump $5 billion not to run. He gave the Democratic Party $30 billion, and he's all for the climate change. He's just like Greta Thunberg, and he wanted to make a difference in the world, and he said he wanted to run for president one day, which clearly was an absolute joke. I mean, with the stuff that he did. Like I said, he's a video game playing nerd who just probably eats cheese puffs all day. But here's the official story since the court date was finalized just a few days ago. So Sam Bankman-Fried, the once respected founder and CEO of FTX, from this rapid ascent into the cryptocurrency world, earning the moniker SBF, to the sudden collapse of FTX in November of 2022, as we remember. Now, Bankman-Fried's journey is marked by success and scandal. Despite his initial prosperity, a solvency crisis at FTX led to the company's abrupt bankruptcy, forcing Bankman-Fried to resign in November of 2022. This event shook the volatile crypto market, causing substantial financial losses, dropping below $1 trillion valuation, which is absolutely crazy. So Bankman-Fried then faced legal troubles, including wire fraud and conspiracy charges. He was arrested in the Bahamas and extradited to the U.S. by Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, who labeled the actions as one of the biggest frauds in American history. It's funny because I remember around October of 2022, Ben Armstrong, or we used to know him as BitBoy Crypto, he recently is no longer with him, but Ben Armstrong went down to the Bahamas accusing Sam of these crimes before the SEC or any sort of regulatory agency or government agency tried to indict him of any of these legal financial crimes that were obviously so large, and Ben knew it. He went down there and accused him right away. It felt very similar to the Jeffrey Epstein situation because this is someone who had influence with people in high positions of power, and then he used that influence and took advantage of it and defrauded tons of people with tons of money in cryptocurrency. So Bankman-Fried was born in 1992 in California into a family of Standard Law School professors. Sam's early years were steeped in academic richness, and he attended Crystal Springs Upland School and engaged in a summer program gifted with math students. So it's important to understand that he grew up around education and money. So after he graduated from MIT in 2014 with a degree in physics and a minor in mathematics, Sam then delved into the financial world, interning at Jane Street Capital in 2013 and then joining as a full-time employee. Now, however, the real turning point came in 2017 when he departed from Jane Street to establish Alameda Research, a powerhouse in quantitative trading within the cryptocurrency landscape that many people know now today. Not stopping there, Sam then founded cryptocurrency exchange FTX in April of 2019, successfully launching it the following month. This journey showcases his evolution from a gifted student to a visionary founder, shaping a cryptocurrency empire that actively trades millions of dollars daily across international markets. So everything seemed to be going pretty well for Sam at this point. He was 28 years old, he had billions of dollars, and he was projected to be one of the richest people on the planet. So in his eyes and many people's eyes at the time, he was living the American dream. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, when the cryptocurrency realm took the center stage, Bankman-Fried's Bahamas-based enterprise not only thrived, but it soared. And in 2020, FTX secured the Blockfolio exchange platform for an impressive $150 million, marking a pivotal moment in the cryptocurrency world. FTX's user community flourished, and Bankman-Fried seemed to have established a secure footing in the typically tumultuous cryptocurrency markets. Amid a subsequent wave of crypto setbacks, he extended a financial lifeline to BlockFi, preventing a significant liquidity crisis. However, it's noteworthy that late November 2022, BlockFi had itself succumb to financial challenges, filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And then undeterred, Bankman-Fried made strategic moves, acquiring the struggling crypto lending platform Voyager and extending an offer for the assets of the bankrupt Celsius. Additionally, he added LedgerX, a derivatives trading platform, to his portfolio, although its full integration into FTX remained incomplete. This series of actions underscores his resilience and strategic vision navigating the dynamic landscape of cryptocurrency. In a candid conversation with New York Times columnist Andrew Ross Sorkin on November 30th, Bankman-Fried disclosed that his wealth had dwindled to $100,000 in a bank account, a significant decline. If accurate, Forbes once estimated his net worth at a peak of $26.5 billion. What was really remarkable is that Bankman-Fried maintained such a stoic demeanor. He revealed no financial challenges or imminent bankruptcy risk for FTX until October of 2022. And then on November 2nd of 2022, a report surfaced revealing that a substantial portion of FTX cash was lost in the form of its own token, FTT, which the company centrally controlled. That's really concerning, I would think, if I was a shareholder. Following this revelation, the CEO of FTX competitor Binance, CZ, declared on November 6 an intention to divest all FTT holdings. This announcement, coupled with the subsequent sales, triggering a cascade effect, causing a decline in the price of FTT, reverberating the broader cryptocurrency markets. And now I remember at the time, I went to bed and FTX and the currency and the exchange was fine. I never once put a single dollar into the coin or the exchange. I will gladly say that. The furthest that I ever did was I purchased the coin called Terra Luna, which is essentially worth nothing now. But I had purchased and sold for profit 6 weeks before it collapsed, which Bankman-Fried had a little bit of association with. But when it comes to FTX, I had no involvement. And there were several celebrities, tons of people that were public figures, tons of athletes that had a lot of money invested in the coin and the exchange itself. So that's pretty concerning. And I remember waking up and hearing the news about how the exchange collapsed, and the guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, who was in charge, was saying all sorts of crap and really looked like a fraudster the day that they started making it public. And what was really funny is, you remember the commercial, it was public. It was a commercial with Tom Brady and Sam Bankman-Fried. Not to change the subject, but it must have been a tough year for Tom Brady. His wife left him had to quit football, and then, a guy he was doing commercials with turns out to be a crypto fraudster. That's a tough one. As the liquidity crisis at FTX unfolded, Binance CEO Kacee initially expressed interest in acquiring FTX, announcing a non-binding letter of intent. However, a day after thorough examination, Binance then withdrew the deal, citing the severity of FTX's financial situation beyond a cost-effective remedy. Simultaneously, regulatory authorities, including the SEC and CFTC, launched investigations into Alameda Research and FTX, alleging that they mishandled customer funds. And then with the specter of financial collapse looming, Bankman-Fried reportedly sought to secure billions of dollars in an overnight deal to salvage FTX. Really sketchy dude. And unfortunately, there were no potential buyers willing to commit the reported $9.4 billion required to rescue the company. So at this point, he really had no choice but to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And then he did so on November 11th of 2022, and then resigned as CEO. That day witnessed the disappearance of approximately $1 billion to $2 billion in FTX customer funds. So obviously after that, the exchange completely collapsed. Nobody wanted to buy it up. It's completely insolvent right now, to my understanding. And he recently, last week, went to court. They decided that he's going to be facing 110 years with all the crimes that he faces with FTX and Alameda Research. Now, they really seem justified in my opinion. I was honestly expecting them to go really light, and he might even not see 2 to 5 years. That was my guess. So he actually ended up spending a few months into a jail cell until he obviously bailed himself out for quite a chunk of money. And they decided that the actual hearing of his sentencing is going to be on March 28th of 2024, so next spring. And since this is such a big, shocking event, not only in just news and I guess regulatory national events, but this is just something that is just crazy. I mean, I think it doesn't matter really what you're interested in. I mean, think about this guy was able to manipulate and get people to think his credibility was so good and so trusting that an actual professional sports team, the Miami Heat, named their stadium FTX Stadium for a brief period of time until changing it to something else. It was only for like 3 months, but still, I mean, that is a huge deal. I mean, that is one of the biggest stories, I think, of the decade, for sure, looking back. And like I said, there's going to be plenty of movies and plenty of Netflix documentaries, I'm sure. I mean, it's basically calling for it. But it's pretty remarkable, though, that this all happened. And the worst thing here is that it makes people distrust cryptocurrency and decentralized finance and Bitcoin. But the biggest misconception is that people think that just because his exchange collapsed, that they can no longer trust any of these things anymore. But that's actually false. Like I always say, get your crypto off exchanges, get yourself a decentralized, encrypted hardware wallet where you can store not only Bitcoin, but also any other coin of your choosing. Not just leave it on an exchange for someone who can lose it. They can make the exchange insolvent, and obviously like what Bankman-Fried did here. So there's many things that can go wrong, but just to say that these things are no longer good to use and credible anymore is ignorant, because obviously the SEC declared Bitcoin as property, no longer a security, and many other currencies are on the way of that. But obviously with what Bankman-Fried did here, it really shook the trust of decentralized finance and cryptocurrency at the time, and still has left a mark today. As like I said, the Miami Heat changing the name of their stadium to the name of that exchange is going to leave a mark in history, and maybe over time it's going to be forgotten, but people will still remember, especially those of us that were around and involved at the time. But like I said, his court hearing is on March 28th of 2024. We'll cover the hearing that day to see what the judge decides to sentence him to. Obviously, he's looking at 110 years with all the financial crimes, but again, we'll have to see how it plays out, and we'll cover it then. We'll see you next time.